This week's Torah portion is called Vayeishev. We're continuing the story of Jacob. Jacob is now post meeting up with the brother that wanted to kill him, and he's now wanting to settle in the land of Canaan. He's ready to settle down. He's been through his travels. He's been through a lot of difficult times, and now he's ready to settle down. And as much as we might want to settle down and live a complacent lifestyle, that isn't always under our control. It doesn't always go that way. And the same for Jacob. It doesn't go the way that he wants it to be, where everything will just be complacent and lovely and everything will be settled and all will be well. He has his 12 children, 2 of whom are born to his beloved wife Rachel, who we learnt last week died in childbirth. And Joseph is a favored child. He gives Joseph a beautiful coat made of many colors. It's quite a famous story that's been made into a musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, on the story of Jacob giving Joseph this coat. So this coat fostered negative and jealous feelings from the brothers, such that the brothers hated Joseph. Joseph also spoke to the father about the brothers in negative ways, and there was animosity between Joseph and his brothers. One day, the brothers are out shepherding, and Jacob says to his son Joseph, go inquire, go find out about your brothers, go see how your brothers are doing, go look for brotherhood, look for good in your brothers, go see how they're doing. And Joseph says, I'm ready to go, and he gets up and he goes, and he's looking for his brothers in the fields, and he can't find them. He's looking all over, and positioned in the field, he sees a man, and he asks the man and the man says to Joseph, what are you looking for? What are you seeking? What an interesting question. What are you seeking? Perhaps we should ask ourselves that question. What are we seeking? What is it we're looking for? Turns out, say our commentaries, that this man is in fact an angel, the angel Gabriel. And this angel is directing Joseph to find his brothers. Maybe Joseph wouldn't have found his brothers any other way. And this angel is positioned by divine plan to direct Joseph to find his brothers so the rest of the story can unfold. And I think when we think about angels, we have people in our own lives who are there at the right time to direct us, to guide us, to love us, to help us overcome challenges, to support us, to guide us, angels. And we, in turn, are angels for other people. You know, when we have a thought to go visit somebody in the hospital, maybe we're the angel, or when we do something good for another person, or we call another person, or, oh, I had a thought to call this person, or you see somebody who needs help and you run over and you help them, and you've done a huge thing, which to you might feel like a very little thing, but to them it could be a very big thing. And these little things that we do are like angels. We're being the agents for God in the world. We're, you know, I wash people for burial, as you know, and when I wash somebody for burial, God can't wash people for burial, but we become the messengers of people who can wash people for burial. We become the people who go visit the sick. We become the people who feed the hungry and clothe the naked, etc., and dance at weddings and cry at funerals. We're the people that do that. We're the angels. We're the messengers of God in this world, and we are putting into the world God's work. We're doing God's work when we do that, and we have a body to do that. We have arms and legs that can run to do good, and we have eyes that can see good, and lips that can speak good, and ears that can hear good, and a mind that can think good thoughts. So all of that is our toolbox to do good in the world. We have it in our bodies to do. So so this angel Gabriel directs Joseph to his brothers, and his brothers see him coming from afar, and it's interesting. Yes, geographically he's afar, but he's also afar in their brotherhood. He's far off. He's separate from the other brothers, and they plot and they decide to throw him into a pit. They don't kill him; they throw him into a pit, and they have their reasons for throwing him into a pit. And it's Reuven that suggests throwing them into the pit. His brother Reuven. And in Reuven's mind, he's going to come back and he's going to pull him out of the pit later and then return him to his father, Jacob. But by the time he comes back, Joseph has gone, because Reuven, Judah, another brother, has taken him out of the pit and sold him to some passing traders. I want to just think about the pit for a little bit. So this pit is empty of water, but it has scorpions and it has snakes in it. And it's a miracle that happens that Joseph is not bitten by the snakes and the scorpions, and he survives his time in this pit, which is considered a miracle. And many years later, when Joseph comes back, and he's coming back along this way to greet his father, Jacob is coming down to Egypt, where he will live out the rest of his life, that Joseph makes a point to go back to this pit, because this is a pit where a miracle happened, where he was saved, where the scorpions and the snakes didn't bite him and didn't kill him, and it was a miracle that he survived, and he attributes that to God, and he comes back and he thanks God in the place where the miracle happened. And even today we still have people who, when they are saved from something that really could have turned out very differently than it did, are very grateful. And it could be on that day that it happened, every year that they remember it. They maybe have a celebration to celebrate, to bring out the miracle that happened to them and to thank God that this happened. And there was a woman on a program that I ran yesterday, actually talking about Thanksgiving. And she said that she literally was hit by a truck head on, and she walked out of our car unscathed, no broken bones, nothing. Unbelievable. She said it was absolutely a miracle, and she's going into Thanksgiving with a different level of gratitude. But also, perhaps she could, if she wanted, remember that every year on that date when that truck hit her, that she didn't damage her, what a miracle that is, and to thank God for the miracle. And while we're in the season of miracles with Hanukkah coming up, it is about seeing the little things in our lives, seeing the angels along the way, seeing the things that didn't happen, or the good things that happened to us, and thanking God for those things. So it is a season of recognizing miracles and recognizing goodness in our lives. So Joseph is sold into slavery. He goes down to Egypt, and he is sold to the house of Potiphar. Potiphar is a high-ranking official in Egypt, and he now works for Potiphar. So Joseph, we learn, is very handsome, very gorgeous man, and he is very attractive to Potiphar's wife. So Potiphar's wife tries to seduce him every day. She's trying to lure him into her bedroom, and he doesn't. He resists until one fateful night where there's no one else in the household. It's apparently like set up to really challenge Joseph. And Joseph is able to resist the advances of Potiphar's wife. And our Medrash teaches that he looks into the mirror as she's, seducing him, and he's struggling with himself. He looks into the window and he sees an image of his father. And this image of his father fortifies him. He recognizes that his father believes in him. You know, how much we have people who believe in us, and he believes in himself, and he knows that God is with him and that God believes in him. And these are the perhaps three ways in which we can rise above our challenges when we're struggling with doing the right thing, and struggling, in a very difficult struggle with something that challenges us, that we can say, God believes in me. People believe in me, my mother, my father, my spouse, my children, my friends, my rabbi, my teacher. People believe in me, and I believe in me. I have the fortitude to rise above and to keep moving, and to resist the struggle and do the right thing. And that's what Joseph does. And he runs outside, leaving his cloak behind. And this idea of leaving the cloak behind, say our commentators, is a metaphor for leaving behind the physicality, things that don't matter. The physical things don't matter. Let's leave those behind and go outside, where we're in a spiritual place, where we follow the things that are good, the things, a good name, that we have a good name, that we act with integrity, that we act with faith, we act with goodness, we act in the way, the right way, in the way of truth and the way of goodness. When we do that, and that's what we take with us, that's what makes us a good name. So when Joseph is fleeing from Potiphar's wife and discarding and leaving behind the garments, it's a metaphor for leaving behind physicality. That's not what's important. It's not important how many cars I have and how big my house is. It's important what I do and who I am, and what a name I create for myself. That's what's important. And when we go back to Joseph, who's wandering in the field, and the angel Gabriel says to him, "What are you seeking?" We should be asking ourselves that question. What is it that we're seeking? And when Jacob says to Joseph, "Go find your brothers and look for brotherhood, look for love, look for the good in the other," that's perhaps one of the answers of what is it you, Joseph, are seeking? What is it that we, each one of us, is seeking? And when we recognize the good things that happen in our lives, and when we recognize the miracles that happen to us, and the things that we're protecting, and God's protecting us, we have no idea what's happening, that we thank God for those things. And when it's big things, we can make a big celebration and say, this was a day where I was saved from something much bigger that would have been devastating in my life, and it didn't happen. I'm grateful, and I'm thanking God for that, and make a big deal about that, because it's important, because it shows us that there's something bigger going on. We're part of a bigger picture. The idea that Joseph, when he looked in the mirror and he saw his father in the mirror, is another point that I want to bring out from that. Is that Joseph recognized that he's part of a family. He's part of a Jewish people. He's part of something much bigger than himself. And we are also part of a family, the Jewish people. We're part of something much bigger than ourselves. And as much as we might think, well, it doesn't really matter what I do, and it doesn't really matter what I do because I'm a nothing and I only live in like wherever, little Rhode Island. I think that the idea that we are part of the Jewish people, meaning that our souls are intertwined, that we're part of something bigger, we're a piece of something bigger, and what we do and how we act is supremely important, and it's part of the big picture, and we're part of that chain. We're part of that lineage. We're part of something that came from somewhere, that came from this ancestry, that we read these stories, not just because they're cute stories, but because they teach us how to live our lives, and how to live our lives in a way that has a relationship to God, and has a relationship to who we are as Jewish people in relationship to God, and that we're going to be people who put into the world what will then help the next generation in their journey as they continue the journey that we're on. Right, so we're coming from somewhere and going somewhere and passing it on to the next generation. So what is it that we're passing on? And so when I think about those things, and I think about Hanukkah coming up, and think about miracles, and we think about proclaiming miracles and seeing light in dark. And as Joseph's on his way down to Egypt, and he goes down into Egypt and he ends up in jail. At the end of this week's Torah portion, he's in jail. He's in the darkest place. He never loses sight of the fact that God has faith in him, and God is with him, and that he's part of a picture, much bigger picture, and God's orchestrating and fine-tuning things, and that there's hope that things will be better and things will be good, and that we have hope that things will be better and things will be good, and that we can, in our own small, really big way, bring light into the world.